everyone, how's it going? So today I have a requested tutorial from a few videos back. This is my Lux Lodge mini album, and a lot of you guys were wondering how I did these zigzag pages. So that's what today's tutorial is going to be about, and so let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I like to use 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, sheets of paper for my mini albums, just because they're cheaper to buy and they're easier to find. But I also have an option here for a 12 by 12, and I'll show you guys that here in a second. But so the size of my next mini album is going to be 6 1/4 by 6 1/4 by 5.5. And so with this one sheet of paper, I am making I'm making 6 hinges, and each of these is going to be kind of like a little page. It's on its own. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. You guys know me, I'm not very good at tutorials, but I still always want to show you guys if you guys ask. And so first things first is on the 11.5 inch side, I cut off 2 1/4 inches after measuring 6 1/4. So once you measure the 6 1/4 or whatever length you want, this is what you're going to have left over. And then, so for me, I just cut it in half, a 5.5 score line. So each of these flaps should be 5.5 inches. And then, so what I have left over, this is just a piece I'm not going to use, and you guys can use it for, an extra flap, or, attach it for a little pocket, or, whatever. But anyways, this is the piece I'm going to be focusing on. This is going to be my hinge. So after all is said and done, this is what everything should look like. So you'll have these pieces, and then this is just that extra piece that we are not going to use for this tutorial anyway. And then I just went ahead and cut an extra 6.5 by 5.5 inch sheet of paper so we can make a triple kind of page here. So you'll see what I'm talking about here in a moment. And so that's with the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. If you're going to use a 12 by 12, what I did on the 12.5 inch side, I went ahead and cut it already at 6 1/4, which is the length, and then I scored it at 5.5, which is what the width would be for this particular album, and then I scored it again at 5.5, so I'll have an inch hinge left over. And then I just took an extra piece of 6 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of paper, and that's what you're going to attach to your hinge. So I'll go ahead and show you how I attach everything. So first things first, what I do is I put this on an edge. Let's see. I put it on an edge so that way I can line this up, and it's easier for me to see the thicker lines. So then I'm going to take this hinge and my glue and glue this. There we go. And then I'm going to flip this over and line up that score line with this with the score lines on the mat. So then the good thing about this glue is you don't have to wait too long for it to dry. So then after that dries, I'm going to flip this over and again line it up with that edge right here and right here. And then I'm going to take my glue and glue that. And then I'm going to take my extra flap of paper and put it on there. And again, making sure it lines up with the edge, so everything is straight across. And you should have this beautiful piece of paper here. There we go. Alright, so then when you flip it over, you're going to have the hinge on this side, and this is all going to be flat. So for this particular album, what I'm going to be doing, first of all, I don't like to score any, or I don't like to pre-fold any of these before I attach my pages, because it's a lot harder for me to kind of see how straight it is. So I like to do it afterwards. So since they're already pre-scored, I just make sure that all the edges line up, and then I reinforce it with my bone folder. Then to make that zigzag shape, you're just going to flip it over and again line it up with the edge. There we go, and it's already pre-scored. I just like to make sure it's perfect. So then I hold this flat where I want it, really tight, and then I'm going to push with my bone folder, and you'll have this perfect zigzag page. So I'll attach it with you guys, and then I'll show you guys kind of what the album was going to look like in the future. So there's plenty of ways you can attach this spine. You can either attach it here, you know, each of these hinges, or on here. This particular album, I am going to see the hinge right here. I'm going to attach it on the outside of that hinge. For this album over here, what I did, and you see it's a really long page, what I did was I actually attached it on the edge. So I went this way actually for that, and I attached it like this, so it was a really long pull out. But for this one, I'm just doing a different kind of concept. And so what I do, again with these same albums, or I mean with the same pages, I flip them over to make sure that they're all going to be lined up on the same line. And so for this one, I'm attaching it on the hinge, and making sure it's straight along that edge. Just waiting for it to dry, pressing hard, really hard down. Alright, and so you'll kind of see, so this is what we have. This is a 6 hinge. You can do as many hinges as you want. But for this one, I'll show you what kind of each of those little, the effect it gives. So this is a really great way to add a lot of pictures in an album with a small amount of hinges. So what's going to happen is I'm going to decorate this. I'm going to decorate this inside. Then we're going to flip it over. You're going to have this piece and then the back piece. So again, that's one little zigzag right here. Then here's another one. So we're going to decorate this, decorate the inside, decorate this, and then you're also going to have a flap right here. So it's a lot of pages so far for only, you know, 2 little flaps. And so this album that I'm going to be using for this particular method, it's a great way to show off the patterns of the paper without adding bulky embellishments if you want the album to just be about the photos. So I hope this helped. I'll link the album for this down below if you guys kind of want to look how I decorated it without being too bulky. But I hope this helped, and you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.